Hello, you random people on the internet that I'll probably never meet. My name is John, but people on the internet call me Narwhal, and I'm currently in the midst of watching every single superhero movie ever made because I had never seen any of them. Today, we're here to talk about Fant4stic. I thought the original Fantastic Four was Fant4stic, which would make sense because they're the same name, but apparently I was wrong, and the new one, they decided to put a 4 instead of the A, so it's Fant4stic. I get it now. Right off the bat, the first thing I have to say is this movie instantly got a few points for me because the writing just improved so much from all of the early 2000 movies to like the 2010 era on. Not just the writing, but also the acting too. Everything just feels more real, and that's what I've never really understood about early 2000s film. Did people in the early 2000s not realize that like how different that was than reality, or did they just not care? Is that part of the appeal? Like when you go to the cinemas in the early 2000s, do you know that everything's kind of like, it's just worse acting? And that's not to say that like all movies were like that. There's been tons of great films in every single decade since cinema started, but I'm just saying, when you hear the term early 2000s movie, everyone knows what that means. It's just goofy and over the top, and I never understood like where that came from or what that exactly is. So if anyone knows the history of that, let me know in the comments. See, the thing that's fun about this series is I could just use Google for a lot of these questions, but it's more fun just to ask the questions in the video and then have you guys answer for me. Now, before we get too deep into this movie, let me just say I really enjoyed it. I truly had a great time watching this movie, and the whole time I was waiting for it to get bad. Like I was waiting for that big moment that I'm like, oh, I see why people fucking hate this. But it just never came. It was just a fun movie. And anything I heard from my friends or from comments on people on TikTok, like people were shocked and mad that I liked it, but they basically explained it's not that the movie itself was bad, but it's that it was a bad Fantastic Four movie. You know what I'm saying? Apparently the characters from the comics are not like that at all. They don't represent them very well. The colors are not as bright and beautiful. Those are just the things I've heard people complain about, but to me it was really fucking awesome. I like it's so hard because I don't compare these movies to the comics. I judge them as movies, and that's where my opinions kind of differ with like a lot of people, and people get annoyed sometimes because I feel like a lot of people think that certain movies are great because of the appeal and the culture and community around the movie, but that's not the product. You know what I'm saying? Like the MCU, the cult that is the MCU, when people freak out on Twitter and on YouTube comment sections about it, like they always talk about how they love that all these storylines intertwine and all the characters from here and there all come together and you get to see them work together. But to me, in my eyes, like each movie is like a piece of art. It's like its own movie, and so just because it didn't necessarily fit the comics exactly, I don't feel like that makes it an objectively bad movie. But then other people would argue that since it's based on a certain source material, it has to be accurate to the source material, because without the source material, that story wouldn't even exist. So I kind of get that too. I just feel like there's a distinction that people don't really acknowledge or don't want to acknowledge, and that's that the community and culture of superhero movies is one thing, but then like the movies themselves are a different thing, and I feel like they need to be judged differently. Like the community can be dope and awesome, but the movie can still suck, but the community doesn't want to accept that because this community has turned into like a religion where if you don't like the movie, you're wrong, or if you like the movie, for this case, you're wrong too. It's just weird. Like I thought it was a good movie. Now let's get into some specifics. The fact that they decided to get drunk and then go into another dimension is one of the dumbest things I've seen any characters do in any of these movies yet. Just from a pure like logical standpoint, the fact that they thought they could get drunk and then make good decisions, and even when you're I don't know, maybe I'm just different, but if I was drunk, there is no way I would ever think it would be good to go into another dimension. You know what I'm saying? Like I have enough self-awareness, even if I'm borderline blacking out, that wouldn't happen. But hey, maybe they were just feeling ballsy, and more power to them, I guess. Now this next one is kind of nitpicky, but there was a scene where a character like passes out, but it was just the worst acting I'd seen of passing out in a long time. It's like you were watching a stage play, but it was like a parody of like a film set, and they were it's kind of like in so when you guys are seeing these YouTube videos, I've already watched Thor Ragnarok because my TikToks are way ahead of the YouTube schedule, but it's kind of like the scene in Thor Ragnarok when Matt Damon, who had like this small cameo, was like acting, and they were on Asgard, and he just like fake dies on stage. It was like that, but passing out, where they just go, ah. You know what I'm saying? Where it doesn't look anything like how someone looks when they pass out. So that was annoying. I honestly just love the storyline. That's pretty basic, but the whole movie, I was sitting there like I was actually invested. I was like, imagine if this actually happened. Like what would happen? What would the government do? And obviously there's some really corny aspects of it, but the thing I've realized is all of these movies have corny aspects to them. There's not a single one that doesn't have something corny about it. I was kind of confused at one point. I think his name is Reed Richards. I think that's like the main guy that can stretch his arms and shit, played by Miles Teller. But I was really confused because I thought his powers were just to get really stretchy and to like lengthen his arms and legs and shit like that. But there was a scene where his entire face changed. So can he literally just alter anything about his body and like morph it into someone else? Because that'd be pretty badass if he could. The action was nothing special at all, really, in my opinion. It wasn't anything that like blew me away, but I also just don't really care for action. Like the thing that gets me invested is not seeing like a person that I like in a big battle. It's seeing a character that I like in like a really vulnerable, emotional conversation where there's like a really good monologue or something like that. So for me, I don't give a shit if there's any action in these movies, to be honest. Now, I did see a few comments from people about like, oh, you know, the CGI was trash at times or something like that, or the visuals just weren't up to par or whatever the case may be. But for me, I realized since I've been watching so many like 90s and early 2000s movies, the graphics were so bad anyways that now seeing something that even looks remotely modern and like remotely futuristic looking in cinema, it looked great to me. Like I didn't even notice at all, and I didn't mind because everything else I'd watched before that was way worse. And it really makes you think how people growing up in like the 80s, they probably thought that the stuff they did in like the Superman movies were insane, which it makes you appreciate it because at the time that was insane. But it's just crazy because if a movie had that standards now, like that's just unacceptable to people. Pretty wild. And I honestly really love the ending of this movie. Unlike a lot of the other things I've seen thus far where either the government is after them or they're kind of vigilante superheroes, like this one was one of the first ones I'd seen where the government basically just gave them control of things and let them learn how to use their abilities and the resources they needed to just get better and to become the Fantastic Four. And I thought that was cool because usually they're just always fighting the government or like having to hide. And this one, the government's like, yo, you guys do whatever the fuck you want. You're the Fantastic Four. Hell yeah. And as a viewer, I was like, hell yeah. So there you go. Listen. It's the Fantastic Four movie, all right? It's not the best movie in the world. There's a lot of things wrong with it. And we've known that for many years. But at the end of the day, I had a good time with it. I thought it was way better than some of the other shit I'd watched so far. I gave this movie a 7 out of 10 when I watched it like a couple weeks ago. But now when I'm recording this, I don't know if I would give it a 7 out of 10, but fuck it. We're going to stick with that. Fantastic Four 2015 is a 7 out of 10. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment down below. What did I just say? Letting me know what you thought of Fantastic Four. If you guys enjoy my content and want more of it, I actually have a podcast called Peak to Middle School that has 2 episodes every single week. It's available on every platform. It even has full video versions on YouTube, so go check it out. It's really fun. And if you enjoy these videos, you definitely would enjoy my podcast.
If I were Buffalo, I would charge straight at cars.
Who would you go for? Like, what type of person if you were a buffalo?
Whoever gets the closest to me, honestly. The dumbest person to come towards me is getting stomped.
Yeah, but if there was someone near you and you kind of peeked over at them as a buffalo and they didn't look like an idiot, would you give them a pass?
Yeah, if they're using flash cameras, yeah, I'm charging you.
Okay, yeah. What if she's hot, though?
No. I would like maybe go up next to her.
Give her a bump, not kill her.
Yeah, a little headbutt.
Just like paralyze her from the waist down.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.